Good evening. Welcome to the 26th Annual Tri-Cities Area National Management Association Speech Contest. Tonight we will have competitions for the chapters of the Mid-Columbia Leadership Development Association and Energy Northwest. Buried within that will be a competition for the top performer tonight to become the Columbia Basin Area Council representative to the Leadership Development Conference, which is going to be held in La Jolla, California, April 18th through the 20th. The top two people from that conference, where Pacific North, Pacific South, and Southwest areas will be competing, will proceed to the national finals, which are in September, the 6th through the 8th in San Antonio, Texas. The winning student tonight, who wins the Columbia Basin Area Council, that he or she and a chaperone will be flown, kept in La Jolla for a couple days, and then when they go to, should they advance to national, their trip to San Antonio will also be paid for. My name's Edward Schweer. I'm a past president of the Mid-Columbia Leadership Development Association and current board chairman. Tonight, we're doing this presentation, this contest, in front of a live audience in Richland. It's also being filmed by our partner for the past 26 years, Charter Communications. Tonight, you're going to have the distinct pleasure of listening to 5 young adults tell you about leadership, their thoughts on it. They're going to make some points. They're going to educate you, delight you, and you will leave tonight, and those of you who are going to watch this over the next several months, either through YouTube or on Charter Communications, are going to have a renewed faith in what I say is our next greatest generation. Few words about the contest. Number one, if you have a cell phone or a pager, please put it on silent, vibrate. Rule number 2, this is a little bit harder to live by. No applause after each speaker. The students are expecting that period of silence so the judges can mark their ballot. You'll have plenty of time to applaud when we bring them back after the contest, after the speaking part is done, while the judges, Chief Judge and I are out tabulating the ballots. And Bill Leonard, of our past presidents of the Mid-Columbia Leadership Development Association, will be interviewing the students tonight, so then you'll get to know who they are. Well, we'll know who they are because they spoke. Well, that's another rule. They're only introduced by speaking order number and their speech title. Why do we do this speech contest? Well, there's 4 primary purposes. Number 1 is to educate students, high school students, about leadership. Number 2, get them involved in researching, learning something about leadership, developing their own thoughts. Number 3, prepare and deliver a speech. Why? Because communications is absolutely critical in the workplace and for America's future. And 4th, we will incentivize them by providing monetary prizes. So they'll win money tonight. The winner in San Antonio will get $4,000. The winner down in La Jolla will get $1,000. And the second place, the winner may actually get $2,000. Second place may get $1,000. But they can earn up to around $5,500 or so. Boy, could they get all the way to national, because I mean there are almost 100 chapters. Well, we've had a national finalist 7 of the last 11 years, and 2 years ago we had the national champion. So yes, it's possible. We have a vibrant program, wonderful young adults, and you'll get to hear, again, 5 of them. No further ado, all pagers and cell phones on silent. We'll bring in speaker number 1. Contestant number 1, on your way to leadership. On your way to leadership. Speaker number 1.
few weeks ago, I was racking my brains for speech topics when my younger brother walked into the room. As soon as he realized what I was doing, he declared, "Hey, how hard can it be? A leader is someone who leads." The end. Well, after I encouraged him to leave the room, I paused to consider what he had said. I finally decided that that is exactly what a leader is. A leader is someone who leads others in a certain direction. This means a leader must have followers. There is a leadership proverb that states, "He who thinks he leads, but has no followers, is only taking a walk." But let me ask you something. How do leaders attract followers? After some research at the local library, I concluded that leaders must do 3 things. They must show people that they care, let people know that they can be trusted, and earn respect. Let's take these one at a time. The number one thing that people want to know before they start following someone is whether or not that person even cares about them. Studies covering this issue have concluded that we were given 2 ears, but only 1 mouth, because it is twice as hard to listen as it is to talk. True leaders make an effort to listen to their employees about their day-to-day concerns. They are often rewarded for this effort by employees who are more effective and engaged. A leader who applied this concept to great effect was Jim Sinegal, co-founder and former CEO of Costco Wholesale. He believed in paying his employees plenty of money and making sure that they had substantial benefits. While Sinegal was CEO, Costco had the lowest job turnover rate in the entire business world, all because a leader showed his followers that he cared. Do you remember the second thing that leaders have to do to attract followers? They have to prove that they are trustworthy. True leaders have to stay with the company or team, be on the spot when there are decisions to be made, and actually make strong, quick, informed decisions. A leader who worked incredibly hard to gain his followers' trust was Mervyn Davies, former chairman of the Standard Chartered Bank, with more than 70,000 employees spread across 70 countries. He was never slow with his decisions, and he always went right through with what he thought was best for the company, even over strong objections. Given the bank's international character, Davies felt compelled to reflect this diversity in the bank's leadership group, concentrating on promoting young people with less experience but more vision. After a couple of years, his tenacious decisions paid off, and the company boomed. Despite his busy schedule, Davies communicated constantly with the thousands of workers in the company. This forceful display of decision-making and straightforward communication earned Davies his followers' trust, which in turn contributed to the success of the Standard Chartered Bank. Finally, to truly hook their followers, leaders must earn their respect. When followers respect their leaders, they look up to them as people they wish they could imitate. You might say true leaders create disciples. A leader who earned his followers' respect was Brad Anderson, former CEO of Best Buy. Shortly after his promotion to CEO, he decided that Best Buy could be doing better. The salespeople were so forceful about selling their products to customers that the customers were starting to avoid Best Buy's stores. Anderson decided to adopt a new store policy to conduct business more like a grocery store, where the customers were free to browse whatever they wanted without interruption. This policy received a large amount of criticism because it went against the traditional practices in the electronics industry. Within a few months of its introduction, however, the company's sales surged, and Best Buy continues to dominate the market. Thanks to the success of this courageous innovation, Anderson's employees started to respect him very much as their leader. Well, there we have it. A true leader is not just out for a walk. They have a goal in mind, and they lead their followers in that direction. And although I used Jim Sinegal, Mervyn Davies, and Brad Anderson as examples, you do not have to be a CEO to become a leader. All you have to do is show that you care, demonstrate that you can be trusted, and earn respect. If you do this in your own position at work, at home, or with friends, then you will be on your way to leadership.
Contestant number 2, is there an ethics crisis in America? Is there an ethics crisis in America? Speaker number 2.
What if I told you there's no such thing as right or wrong? What if I told you that there's no such thing as personal integrity? What if I told you that there is no moral responsibility that you owe to yourself or to your fellow man? Surprisingly or not, this is what is implied by the skewed culture of today. In many ways, the culture tells us that we can do whatever feels right, whatever is relative to your own value system. This shows that there is a major lack of moral conviction and ethics in today's society of self-gratification. The need for strong, moral, and ethical leaders to stem the tide of this ethics crisis is growing stronger than ever. In society at large, there is a severe lack of morality, but an excess of relativity. How can this kind of society be expected to raise up the next generation of moral leaders? As the great Martin Luther King Jr. stated, and I quote, that moral principles have lost their distinctiveness. For modern society, absolute right and absolute wrong are a matter of what the majority is doing. We have unconsciously applied Einstein's theory of relativity, which properly described the physical universe, to the moral and ethical realm. This crisis of ethics and morality in our culture can be blamed on a failure of leadership. I do not want to dwell on that failure, though. I do want to see what you and I can do to raise up the next generation of leaders to bring our country out of this crisis. We need to lift the standard of morality in today's society, and the youth of today must be willing to accept the responsibility of changing the future of this country for the better. A leader, by definition, is one who guides and shows by way of example. An effective leader is able to persuade others to his or her own ideals. In order for people to be influenced by someone's convictions, they must first trust them. This leads to the first attribute of a moral leader. A leader must have personal or moral integrity in order for people to trust them. For someone to say, well, I don't trust him personally, but I'm willing to follow his agenda, is an oxymoron. Hopefully no one would think of doing such a thing. Yet in the political arena, we see this happen all the time. Thus, personal integrity is the foundation, the basic component for all the other attributes of a moral leader. So, let's say someone has personal integrity. In order to have this, there must be a standard that they follow, a moral code by which they work. This standard is universal for everyone. It is called natural law. Natural law is one that we are all bound to obey and follow. It holds us to the basic principles of the Golden Rule. Treat others as you would have them treat you. It protects and upholds the basic dignity of people. as endowed by our Creator. Natural law reminds us that we have a moral responsibility to uphold the dignity of each person and to lead by a good example in both our private and our public lives. If a person is immoral and unethical in their private lives, how can we expect them to be a good leader as a public official or business leader? They cannot be expected to lead others by example until they can first master and lead themselves in a moral life. As the philosopher Seneca so eloquently expressed it when he said, that noble examples stir us up to noble actions. Now that I have laid out a framework for a moral leader, you must all be hanging on the edges of your seats, waiting to hear what my perfect example of one would be. But I ask you to use your own values to find someone who personifies these specific traits of leader. Someone who has personal integrity, who follows and is guided by natural law, who acts on that moral responsibility to their fellow man, and who can lead by example because they have first been able to lead themselves in a moral life. And I ask you to think, can such a person exist in today's society and make it to a leadership position without in some way compromising his or her own beliefs? I believe that there are people out there, people in this room, who have it in them to be the moral and ethical leaders of the future. They will be rooted in the truth, in natural law, and in the principles of morality. They will be the ones that will turn the tide of this ethics crisis in America and in the world. So I ask you today, are you going to take up the fight? Are you going to be a leader?
Is it simply the ability of leading followers that makes a great leader? No. Before one can even hope to lead those around them, they must be able to learn to lead themselves and overcome the personal difficulties that are presented. When one fails to lead themselves, let me rephrase that. When one fails to lead themselves, without this ability to lead themselves,
Over. The game's only half over. Speaker number 4.
Hey, baby. I think I love you. Now, even though I can't speak for every teenage girl, I can tell you what my response to a statement like that would be. I would first take a moment to clean up the stuff on the floor that my unsettled stomach had just spewed out, compose myself, and then proceed to say something along the lines of, honey, first off, if you've got to think about it, you don't. And second, I don't honestly believe that you even have the first clue about what love really is. Now, there are those of you in the audience who are going, what is this girl doing, talking about love in a leadership speech? And how does it even apply to the topic? Well, today I'd like to do just that. Today I would like to take a closer look at this unique virtue called love and show you how it really does play a powerful role in the area of leadership. In order to do this, we need to first have a proper definition. Basketball coach John Wooden, in his book Wooden on Leadership, answers the question, what is love, by saying, love is patient, love is kind. It is not jealous, it is not pompous, it does not rejoice over wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. He goes on to say that a leader filled with this type of love is a powerful force. But a leader who tries to lead without it will turn around one day and find there is nobody following. Love is essential. Author Gerald Molaby, in his book, The Leadership Ladder, says leadership demands love. In fact, where there is no love, there is manipulation, corruption, and exploitation. Molaby outlines 7 important key truths about love in leadership. I'd like to discuss only 3 of them with you today. First, love appreciates. This is one of our greatest needs we have as human beings, the need to feel wanted and appreciated. In fact, this desire is so deep within each one of us that we will go to extremes to fulfill it. An effective leader acknowledges this truth by listening and giving credit and honest appreciation for work well done. Second, love believes. A leader with love believes in the potential of his people and displays confidence in them. Not only does he encourage them, but he also gives them chances to grow. And when an individual stumbles, the leader looks upon the mistake as simply a teaching opportunity, but does not dwell there. Instead, he turns his focus towards the potential of the individual and works to unleash that potential. University of California's head football coach, Nibs Price, displayed all of these characteristics well when in 1929, his team, the Golden Bears, were playing in the Rose Bowl. All was going well when in the second quarter, Price's center, Roy Riegels, managed to pick up a fumble, somehow got turned around and ran 69 yards in the wrong direction. Everyone was shocked. Can you imagine the humiliation that Riegels must have felt when he realized his mistake? At halftime, fully expecting his coach to tear him apart, Riegels told him, "Coach, I can't do it. I couldn't face that crowd to save my life." Price merely placed a reassuring hand upon Riegels' shoulder and said, "The game's only half over, Roy. Now get up, get back out there, and give it your all." And that is exactly what Riegel did. And third, love gives. True leadership is not about receiving. It is about giving. But first, one must choose to give. One of the best examples of this kind of giving love is that of Johnny, a 7-year-old boy whose brother was diagnosed with a rare disease that required a blood transfusion. Johnny's blood type matched perfectly to that of his brother's, and his parents asked him if he would be willing to donate some blood. Johnny, who was normally a very happy-go-lucky sort of boy, became very sad and broke down into tears. His mother could do nothing to console him, and this went on for days. Eventually, Johnny agreed to the procedure. The appointment was scheduled, and everything went fine. Afterwards, Johnny's mother approached him and said, "Now, honey, it wasn't that bad, was it?" Johnny, with tears filling his eyes, turned towards his mother and said, "Mommy, how soon will I die?" There is no greater love than this. As John Wooden once said, love may not conquer all, but it conquers much. So ladies and gentlemen, do not settle for being the kind of person who says to their followers, "I love you, I think." Instead, be the leader who through your words and actions conquers much. Be the one who says, "I believe in you, you can do this. Now get up. Get back out there and give it all you've got, because the game is only half over."
Contestant number 5, good leader or successful leader? Good leader or successful leader? Speaker number 5.
We hear about leaders doing great things, succeeding against the odds, overcoming incredible obstacles. And often, this is what we think of as the epitome of being a leader. I have a question for you though. Is what we see merely the successful leader? And do we forget the good leader? Looking back, we find many who, though successful leaders, have hurt those around them. Take, for example, the Corsican, Napoleon Bonaparte. The man was definitely a successful leader, but he became the Emperor of France, the ruler of Europe, and commanded one of the most powerful armies the world had ever known, except for the reign of terror in previous years. But the man himself cared nothing for his people. He believed that the French people would give him power if they received bread, victory, and the gratification of their own vanity. To accomplish this, Napoleon did not hesitate in sacrificing 30,000 men in his monthly ambitious endeavors. These are not the words or actions of a good leader. In contrast to Napoleon, Henry Ford is a very different sort of leader. Henry Ford was certainly a successful entrepreneur in the automobile industry. But when at the beginning, he started out with almost nothing, fixing greasy motors in his wife's sink and fixing batteries in a tiny garage. As a successful businessman, he paid his workers well above the average wages of working-class Americans. Besides this, he strove to make his automobiles cheap enough and available for all Americans. For this, he is recognized as a successful and a good leader. Another man who, though successful in his own way, and the same type of leader, we see in the actions and face of the late Pope John Paul II, a man called Karol Wojtyła. After the World War II liberation of Poland from the Soviet army, Karol volunteered for the cleanup of the latrines that the retreating German army had destroyed. This simple, selfless act, he reflected not only in his own life, but in these others. He strove to put the well-being, spiritual well-being of others above himself and his own personal safety. As a writer, he wrote articles that were often disfavored by the pro-Soviet Polish government. In doing this, he risked the displeasure and punishment the communists often inflicted on others. As Pope, he spoke out against social movements that were immoral and political actions that pursued change rather than the good. In doing this, who is the greater leader? The one who pursues selfish aims, or the one who strives to put the good of others above themselves? A good leader is not always successful, but yet they lead us constantly.
That concludes the speaking portion of the 2013 Leadership Speech Contest. Be several minutes of silence while the judges mark their ballots. When you've completed all the tabulation, please bring the ballot down to me. Judging is critical. We use a very precise criteria, but it's how it affects every individual. That's why we have multiple judges, and they're judging each student against a list, 100-point criteria. And then we'll also give some feedback to those students to help them improve their presentations. I'm going to let each one of our judging team, and timers, please come down here too. You can't do this without volunteers, so will everyone just step forward and say your name and what company you're with? Timers first, since
Joyce Schweer, I'm with HPM Corp, subcontracted to MSA.
Thank you. And she's also my wife, lovely lady, and we're going down and count the ballots. Bill, and you get the show on the road then. Everyone else introduced?
George Ergy, I'm with CHPRC.
Kay Gonzalez, I'm with NMA as subcontractor under CHPRC.
I'm Carol Wharton. I work for Basic Engineering in Richland.
Dan Hansen, I'm with ATL International.
Steve Ackley, Energy Northwest.
Tim Staten, Bechtel National. Cal Robinson, Energy Northwest.
And I'm Bill Leonard, and I'm with the Advanced Technologies and Laboratories International as well. That's Dan. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present the contestants in the Mid-Columbia Leadership Development Association and Energy Northwest 2013 National Management Association Leadership Speech Contest. So what I'd like to do is start with contestant number 1. If you could please introduce yourself and tell us the school and your grade level, please.
My name is Olivia Bayok. I go to Columbia Basin College for Running Start, and I am a junior.
Hi, my name is Rosemary Harris. I go to Mother Divine Grace School, and I'm in 12th grade.
Hello, my name is Noah Workman. I go to Columbia Basin College for Running Start, and I'm also 12th grade.
Hello, my name is Dulcinea Camp. I'm a sophomore. I go to Mother Divine Grace, like my fellow student here, and I'm also partially Richland High School.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Workman. I go to Columbia Basin College for Running Start, and I'm a junior.
Excellent. So I guess what I'd like to do is maybe start off by asking those of you that are participating this year, have you participated previously at the speech contest?
Yes.
Show of hands. Okay. And how about schools, colleges? Anybody's got some colleges in mind?
Well, I am planning on going to Franciscan University in Steubenville, Ohio, and studying business, communications, journalism, something in those fields. So.
Anybody else?
I hope to study in the medical field. I have no idea where I'm going yet.
Hopefully engineering.
Engineering, okay. You have a school in mind?
Or just WSU.
WSU. Coug.
Yes.
Okay.
I plan to become an athletic trainer, but I haven't picked a school yet.
Okay.
And I'm planning to probably become a Spanish major and maybe go to Hillsdale College is one of my top colleges that I'm thinking of going to, so.
Excellent. And if we could maybe have you start by contestant 1 all the way down, could you kind of give us a little bit of idea about what your hobbies are?
Well, I read occasionally. I enjoy knitting. I am currently a member of the junior shooting team at Rattlesnake Mountain Shooting Range. And yeah, that's about it.
Excellent.
Well, I enjoy designing clothes and sewing, and I like to read as well. I like to cook, kind of a domestic person. Yeah.
Well, let's see. I like sports. Done cross country. Just got done with wrestling. Did one season of pole vaulting, which was quite fun. I don't know. I like the outdoors.
Great.
Hobbies. Probably my first hobby would be sleeping. I don't do as much of it as I'd like, but I very much enjoy basketball, and reading's kind of mandatory with me, so if I find a book that I really like, reading's definitely a hobby, but yeah.
Great.
Well, I like swimming. It's a really fun thing to do. And reading, definitely reading, keeps your mind open. So.
Excellent. So what I'd like to do now, if I could, is just open up to the audience. If you have any questions for any of the contestants. I know you've just got to have one or two, right?
Were you guys really nervous tonight?
Yes, very nervous.
What do you do to calm yourself and to get yourself ready?
Go crazy out in the hallway.
Take deep breaths. Lots of deep breaths.
A lot of pacing back and forth.
I pray.
I pace, freak out, pray, and pretty much follow this person around.
It's true. It's true.
Tim, you had a question?
I've got a question. Why would you put yourself through this? Most people, when asked, would rather die than be affected. That's the truth. The natural polls show that. Why are you doing this?
So let me, so we've got microphones up here and it's not going to pick up.
I can hear it.
Can you hear it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you've got your question, so go ahead. Why would you do this?
Okay, let's see. Other than your parents kindly suggesting you do it, it's a great experience most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
And you learn a lot from it.
Like Noah said, it is a great experience. And once you get up on the stage, it really is kind of fun because you have everybody looking at you and you are kind of showing the people the way. You have a message to deliver and everybody's waiting to hear it. So it is fun once you get up on the stage.
I personally enjoy it. I think some people like it better than others, honestly. But so you're probably looking at a couple rarities here, like you said. But once you do it enough, the jitters start to go down a bit. A little
It's
bit.
like
Is that true?
Yeah.
Did you do it?
I did it last year.
No. We started Optimist Speech when we were 12. I was 12.
You were 12.
Yeah. And we did that together. So that was about 5 years ago. And so we've been doing public speaking ever since then. Dawson and I did American Legion speech competition earlier, and she went on to state. I did not, but it was a very good experience, a learning experience about the Constitution, and interesting kind of see what the judges had to say about it.
Great.
I did it because mostly my mom said, hey, look what okay, but after a few years, it gets a little bit easier. A little bit.
Great. Other questions from the audience?
How long does it?
Let's check back here first.
Oh, I just wanted to make a comment. I've known all of these young people for many, many years, and it's just such a pleasure to sit up here and watch you. Each one of you, that you have matured into such fine, wonderful young people. And it's pure pleasure on my part to watch you.
Great. We had a question in the back here. Oh, right here.
How long does it take you to put together your speech?
That's an awkward question. Well, technically it should take several weeks, but when you're busy and you don't have time, you kind of end up cramming it in the last week and a half.
Yeah. It usually takes a few weeks for me and then quite a while to get it memorized and get it perfected. So.
I guess it all depends on if you have a topic that you know already you can speak on. Otherwise, it takes a while to find that. So, yeah, it all depends.
I vouch for that. I had about 17 topics that I could choose from. And it took me about 2 all-nighters and 4 days to finally get it done and memorized. So,
Yeah.
right, Mom?
Yeah, I would say that if you have a topic that you want to talk about, they give you leadership, but there's so many aspects of it that it takes a while for you to narrow it down with your own experiences and things you feel passionate about. But it also is like, I wrote mine during Christmas break, but being at CBC, it's been quite busy doing a project for PNNL. and so I had to try to cram, memorize, so yeah, just depends on what you're doing.
Great. Okay, you had a question?
I know the topic is leadership, but how do you narrow it down to what you actually end up speaking about?
It's a mixture of what you enjoy speaking about and what you think the audience will enjoy hearing.
I talk to my parents a lot and talk to different people and just read different articles, or I see something on the news and that just kind of sparks something, and that kind of gets me going. But it really just takes a lot of thinking for me, just all the different things that leadership really encompasses. So.
Well, I guess it's the message that you probably want to get out, mostly through like personal experience and things like that. I think that's probably the biggest aspect of it is, okay, you've went through something and you thought, okay, maybe I should have done something else different. You're like, okay, what could I have done different? And then you want to share that with someone else. That's probably, I think,
my first response would be desperation. But I think, honestly, you look and you find something that you're definitely passionate about, and you just go with it, no matter. I mean, you can talk about something that's very relevant, but if you're not passionate about it, you might as well not do it. So that's how I normally find it.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. If you're not passionate about it, you can't get your point across to people. They don't get into it. They don't know. They're like, oh, okay. And then it kind of just blows over their head.
So I had a curiosity question, because I somewhat recognize, having been with the National Management Association for several years, and having been to a few of these in my tenure with the association, these last names look familiar to me. So I'm going to guess that there's some family affair going on here with regards to siblings who have maybe done this. Yes. How many of you have had siblings who have actually done this? Okay, well.
We're all guilty.
All right. And how have they done? Pretty well? Did they influence you all to maybe do this?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely influenced me to do this and the American Legion.
When your parents weren't influenced?
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
great.
My brother won at nationals a couple of years ago, so it's great. Now I have to compete with you.
Well, that's great, though. We actually do have our local chapter here in the Columbia Basin Area Council has been very fortunate. We're small, but we've done extremely well at the national level, having at least 2 national champions in the speech contest. So that's really saying something for the work that Ed Schwer puts in helping to coach and to mentor these young adults that we have here today. So when he comes back in, we should give him a round of applause just to give him some credit. But not to mention the fact now, do you all have your own coaches? Do you use Ed? Do you have other mentors?
Mr. Schwer.
Yeah.
That's about it. You use Mr. Schwer.
My mom.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that would count your parents because they drive you there. My dad, he took me up to Moses Lake for the American Legion. So.
Yeah, I think we all have to thank our parents.
Yeah, for bringing us to
yeah, I wouldn't be doing this without my mom, and my dad, and my brother. There's a list.
So thank you, Mom and Dad.
Excellent. Any other questions for our contestants? I'm sure there must be 1 or 2 more out there.
I've got a comment. There's probably 5,000 kids, students your age, in the Tri-Cities area right now that are sitting at home, watching television or playing their video games or whatever. You are leaders. Regardless of the outcome of any contest, the fact that you're here tonight, the fact that you're willing to stand up and say what you're passionate about, prepare and deliver, I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the initiative and being here. Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience?
I'd like to make a comment. That's a good point about that, because when you're doing your college applications, this is going to be very important for you to put on. And I know for you, Rosemary, there's a leadership program in Francisco. That's
Yes, and I did apply for that. Hoping I get in.
Any of you interested in politics?
Don't dare.
Kind of.
If you
Yes,
ask,
I watch a lot of news.
And possibly because of American Legion's speech, I think it kind of sparks a little bit in you, especially when your best friend gets second place in state.
Politics, that's an interesting topic right now.
a couple years ago when Riley and Matt were here.
Oh, and David.
Yeah.
And Nick.
That would have been a good question.
That's the four brothers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually,
of the
yeah,
four
you're right,
last
of the
names.
four.
Go ahead, George.
Oh, I was wondering if any of the training that you had for speech contest involved impromptu topics.
Yeah.
American Legion. Oh, yeah, American Legion did. Yeah, that was a very interesting experience.
At the beginning of our speech classes with Mr. Schwer, we do have to introduce ourselves and give a little 2-minute icebreaker, so that's a little bit of improvisation, but there's not too much, I guess, that we've had to do in the speech class.
Question. Does anyone ever talk to their friends to try to get your friends to do this?
Yes.
Yeah, tried.
Yes.
Yes.
They said they would think about it.
My entire basketball team and son knows about this, so it's called good advertising right there.
So Ed has arrived, so I think it's a good time to give Ed a big round of applause.
Bill was a last-minute stand-in. I was hoping to have one of our other national finalists. Anyone here related to a national finalist? As I said, they sort of keep it in the family, and we are indeed developing the next greatest generation. There were 2 contests here tonight, and we're going to announce 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place in the Energy Northwest. Steve, come on over there. Steve's got those checks, and I have the ones for the Columbia Basin Area Council and the Mid-Columbia Leadership Development Association. 3rd place, Energy Northwest, Noah Workman. 2nd place, Energy Northwest, Jacqueline Workman. 1st place, Energy Northwest, Rosemary Harris. Now to the Mid-Columbia Leadership Development Association chapter. 2nd place, Olivia Bayak. And 1st place, Dulcinea Camp. As I said, this was really 3 contests in one. We then evaluated all 5 speakers. Obviously, the top speaker has to be either Rosemary or Dulcinea. The 2nd top speaker could be Rosemary or Dulcinea, or it could have been someone from the other chapter, but our alternate for the Leadership Development Conference, who's going to be gaining an additional check, is Rosemary Harris. And I guess that tells you that our representative to the Leadership Development Conference for, how many times is this now? 2nd time. And what year are you?
Sophomore.
Sophomore. So, I mean, she could, actually, the key is you don't win the contest, because once you win the national, you're ineligible. So you could probably milk this for a couple more years. Okay, you can turn your cell phones on. You can come down and take pictures. I'd like to thank Lloyd Swain from Charter. They've been with us for 26 years. We're one of the grassroots organizations that started this before National implemented it as a National Management Association speech contest the following year. So they're only 25 years old. This was our 26th year. A lot of these students, I've been working with them, their older brothers and sisters, or younger brothers and sisters, for years. For about 15 years now, I've been giving free leadership and public speaking classes, run during the fall and winter, generally 8 to 12 weeks, one night a week for a couple hours, help them prepare their speeches, improve their communications. Why? Because we want them to be successful. And you all know why. Because you want them to make a lot of money, pay taxes so we don't have to support them, and pay into Social Security so it'll be there when I retire. Thank you. See you next year.